Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are doing part 2 of ranking every single Barca game so far this season. I did part 1 a couple days back. If you have not seen that video, you can go check it out. It is on my page somewhere. I will also leave the link to it in the description. But today we're doing part 2. We're splitting the series up into 3 parts. Part 1, we did the first 18 games that Barca played. Today we're doing the second 18 games. And obviously in June, we'll do the final tally of games that Barca have played. Because like I mentioned in part 1, Barca up until this point of the year, I'm recording this by the way, a couple hours before the Napoli game starts in the UCL, Barca played 36 games in all comps. In the UCL, Copa del Rey, Super Cup, and every competition that Barca participated in, they played 36 games. So obviously the first part had the first 18. Today we're doing the second batch of 18, and then we'll finish it off in June. A lot of you guys were asking me in the comment section of part 1, why not wait until the end of the season? I wanted to do it now because obviously it makes sense to do it at the end of the year. But I want to do it now because these games are a lot more fresh in my mind now. And if I wait until June, the games that happen in September and October and August, they will not be as fresh in my mind. So I wanted to do it kind of like earlier just so I have a better recollection of those games. That's why I haven't done it. I'm not doing it at the end of the year. But obviously these games, the second part, these games happen like obviously recently. So I'll have a good memory of these as well. And then part 3 will come at the end of the year and we'll do like the final 3 months of the season, which again will be fresh in my mind. So I just wanted to clear that up because a lot of you guys were asking me that question, which is a very valid question, but just wanted to kind of address that. And yeah, man, this should be really not fun at all because Barca have been shit this year. If you watch part 1, you know I'm pretty critical of this team. But yeah, man, we're going to rank them today, the second part, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Let me know if you like this video in the comment section, and let's start ranking some Barca games. The first game we have here is the second game against Porto in the UCL group stages that Barca won 2-1 at home. And this one to me is going to go into meh because Barca, for the majority of this game, honestly, we weren't bad, but we also weren't great. It was really the epitome of a meh performance. I remember that Barca in this game, for the first 30 minutes, they were not great. We conceded a goal in the 30th minute to Porto, but then right after that, Barca kind of turned on the switch like Barca kind of does this year. They just need a wake-up call, and then Joao Cancelo scored a couple minutes after the Porto player scored, and then after that, we kind of controlled the game. Now, it wasn't a perfect control of the game because Porto were still kind of in it, and they were creating chances, but we were kind of just more comfortable than we have been for most of the season, honestly, especially on the ball. I thought Barca in the second half had a really good second half as well, and Joao Cancelo was man of the match to me on that day. Frankie de Jong was spectacular as well, but Joao Cancelo had a beautiful goal, like I mentioned, 2 minutes after the Porto player scored. He was cutting in and out, and just a great finish with his left foot, and he also had a great pass to Joao Felix, who scored the second goal in the second half. And Joao Cancelo, like I said, he was everywhere on the pitch that day. It's games like this that you really value Joao Cancelo and say, wow, we really need this guy back, because when he's on his day, I mean, this guy's fucking unplayable, and he was on his day that day. But again, to me, this Barca game, winning 2-1, you struggle for the first 30 minutes. It wasn't the most convincing performance, so I can't put it in amazing, but I do think Barca were the better team, slightly the better team. Slightly the better team. They weren't really, like, Porto was still in it, like I mentioned. They were creating chances, they just couldn't really finish on this day. But I think Barca were slightly better. So for that reason, I'm going to put it in meh. Next up is the home game against Atletico Madrid that ended 1-0. And this one to me is going to go into amazing. One of the few great games that Barca played this year. Now, obviously, look at the scoreline, and that doesn't really signify an amazing game. Because usually in amazing, you have games like 5-0, 4-0, 3-0. You know, you keep a clean sheet, you beat a team by over 3 goals. And in this game, we kept a clean sheet, but only a 1-goal difference. But still, man, Barcelona on this day, they were amazing, bro. They were the much better team. They dominated Atletico Madrid throughout this whole game. And not a bad team, again. Like, we didn't dominate a bad team. Atletico Madrid is one of the best teams in Europe this year, in my opinion. We've seen how well they've been playing in the league. Actually, in the league, they haven't been that great. But in the UCL, I mean, they're one of the favorites to win the UCL. And they've been a really good team all year. I mean, Cholo Simeone has that team playing with a different intensity this year. And Barca, I mean, we beat them. We beat them on that day in Montjuic. Joao Felix scored a goal in like the 30th minute of that game, I'm pretty sure. Scored against his old team, obviously, and celebrated. Even though he celebrated, but he's still on loan with them. So it's going to be kind of awkward when he has to go back. But still, it's besides the point. Joao Felix scored a goal and celebrated. Barca had, I think, double or triple the XG that Atletico Madrid had. They barely created any chances on this game. Defensively, we were very sound. One of our best defensive performances all year, this game was. And going forward, like I said, we created a good amount of chances, but just typical Barca this year, the finishing wasn't really there apart from that 1 goal by Joao Felix. But this game, to me, like I mentioned, Barca thoroughly dominated a really good opponent. And to me, for that reason, it's going to go in amazing. Like I said, one of the few great games that Barca played this whole year. And honestly, I don't want to spoil the video, but I wouldn't be surprised if this is the only game in this whole part 2 that goes into amazing. But we're not sure. Obviously, we'll see at the end of the video. But for now, I'm starting to think that it might be. Next up is the game against Girona that ended 4-2 at Montjuic. And this one to me is going to go into bad. This game still haunts me to this day. This Barca game was embarrassing, bro. Arguably our most embarrassing performance this whole year. 4-2 against Girona. Now, granted, Girona this year are, they're a fairy tale story. I mean, they're going to finish top 2 in the league. They're going to make a UCL spot next year, and they've been really, really good. I don't want to take away from Girona, but the fact that they came into our building, our stadium, and put 4 past us is fucking embarrassing. And this performance, man, was just so sad to watch. It was putrid, man. That's my favorite word recently in these videos. It was putrid, bro. This game was so gross to watch. Dolph Big was everywhere on the pitch. Savio, Gutierrez, Stuani. I mean, Barcelona on this day, I don't know what the fuck happened to them. Honestly, it was so bad. It was so sloppy, in possession, out of possession. Our defense in transition, we're getting carved up. Every single goal that Girona scored was a beautiful goal. This game was 3-1 at one point, and then Gundogan scored in like the 92nd minute, and then to make it 3-2 kind of presentable, and then they go back and they score another goal. To make it 4-2, Michel outdid Xavi tactically in every single aspect. Xavi looked like a fish out of water in this game. To me, it's the worst managerial game of Xavi's career, because tactically he looked so poor, and he looked like a Division 3 coach compared to Michel. It was that bad. He takes off Christensen in that game in the second half and puts in Balde in that game. But instead of he put Balde at left back and he put fucking Araujo he put Balde at center back, right next to Koundé, and then he put Koundé at right back. Like, he did some weird shit, but he had like his left back playing. I just explained that terribly, but you guys know what I mean. He had his fullback playing center back and his center back playing fullback. It just didn't make any sense to me. It was so bad, and to concede 4 against Girona. I mean, granted, Girona, like I said, great team this year, and offensively they're one of the best attacking teams, not just in Spain, but in all of Europe. But I watched Real Madrid twice play this team, and both times hold them to a clean sheet. And again, we're not Real Madrid this year, but still, bro. I mean, show some fight. The team didn't show any fight in this game. It looked like they honestly gave up, and it was embarrassing to watch. So for me, because of that, it's going to go into bad. One of the worst Barca games that I've seen in a very long time. And that's saying a lot, because Barca this year have been shit, and this was arguably our worst game this whole year. Next up is a game against Antwerp that finished 3-2 in the UCL group stages. And if you thought Girona was bad, this one was actually worse. I misspoke. Girona was not the worst game we played this year. It was Antwerp. Antwerp is going to go into bad. Antwerp was one of the most embarrassing days I've had supporting this team. Honestly, it was that bad. We lost to a team. That was our first ever win, or I think point in UCL history for Royal Antwerp, and they got it against us, FC Barcelona, 5-time UCL winners. And Royal Antwerp, we beat us in their stadium. Again, it's their stadium, but it doesn't matter, bro. And this game, we had some things on the line, because we lost this game, and then somehow Porto got a result or something. We could have finished second in the group. So we actually had to win this game. Thank God it didn't matter, and we ended up finishing first in the group anyway. But if we didn't, if this game would have come back to bite us in the ass, it would have been terrible, bro. In this game, Antwerp scored first, then we equalized, and then they scored a goal, and then we equalized again. Mark Yu came in the second half and scored a beautiful header, and then they scored literally 20 seconds after Mark Yu scored. And Barca on this day looked so bad. They looked so bad. Granted, we weren't playing our first team, but still, bro, we have no business losing to Royal Antwerp in any place. And at home, away from home, in fucking Mars, Jupiter, I say that all the time, I know. But it's true, bro. We have no business losing to this team. And the fact that we did, it still haunts me to this day. I remember when I made my post-match review on my TikTok after that game, I was livid, bro, because this game was unacceptable. It's not just about the result. I mean, the result was really bad, because, again, you should not be losing to a team like Royal Antwerp, but it's the way that Barca played. Like Girona and then Antwerp back-to-back, and there was no fight. There was no resiliency. I mean, the fact that we concede 30 seconds after we score was embarrassing, bro. It was so bad to watch. So to me, it's going to go into bad, man. Yeah, this game, these 2 games back-to-back really tested my fandom of this club. Now, I was obviously, not really, that actually sounds bad, because I'm never going to stop supporting this team no matter what. It doesn't matter what happens. But it just made me realize, like, is this really all worth it? Like, I sat in my room and I was like, is it worth it watching this team and pouring my heart and soul into this team when they gave me performances like that? But then again, it's football, man. It's a roller coaster, especially with this team this year. But yeah, this game against Antwerp is for sure going to go into bad. Next up is the match against Valencia that finished 1-1 at the Mestalla. And this one to me is going to go into man. Barca on this day outplayed Valencia in my opinion, but again, the game finished 1-1. That's Barca for you this year. We outplay a team and we still find a way to draw the fucking game. It doesn't make any sense to me. This is one of the most boring games that Barca played this year, by the way. I think Joao Felix scored a goal in this game, if I'm not mistaken, in like the 55th minute, and then Valencia equalized not too long after that, and then the game just ended 1-1. But again, to me, Barca on this day were the better team. But again, like I mentioned, Barca the better team. We still don't win the game. It's typical for this club this year. Like, nothing surprises me anymore. But yeah, this game to me, again, like I said, pretty boring. Not many things to talk about. Despite the fact that, apart from the fact that we missed a lot of chances, other than that, it wasn't great. So for me, again, but I forgot to mention, Valencia didn't really create much in this game. Offensively, they weren't great. Barca kind of held them in check. So for that reason, again, decent performance, but you don't get the win. It's going to go into meh. Next up is a game against Almeria that we won 3-2 at home, or Barca, not we. People get mad when I say we, that Barca won 3-2 at home. And this one to me is going to go into bad. Almeria are currently sitting in 20th place in La Liga. They have 8 points, and they almost got a point against us at home. Unacceptable, bro. This game was far too close. If you remember If you remember watching this game, I know you know it was a heart attack game. We had, like, dude, I remember, like, Sergi Roberto had to come and save us. Sergi fucking Roberto, out of all players, Sergi Roberto, who hasn't been good in the past 6 years, he had to come in and save us in this game and score a brace. Rafinha scored a goal in the first half, and then they scored a goal to equalize in the first half. Like, we scored first, then they scored, then we scored second, then they scored, and then Sergio Roberto scored the winner towards the end of that game. But again, like, conceding 2 to Almeria at home is unacceptable, bro. I don't care that we won this game. It's unacceptable to concede 2 against a team that's sitting in 20th. Almeria is one of the worst teams in the top 5 leagues. Not in Spain. They're the worst team in Spain by far. They're one of the worst teams in all of Europe's top 5 leagues. They've accumulated 8 points in all not in all competitions, in La Liga. We've played 26 games, bro. And they almost got a result against us. Unacceptable. It's going to go into bad again. I don't give a fuck about the win. You can see 2 against this team, and it's close towards the end. It's going to go into bad, 100%. Next up is the match against Las Palmas away from home that finished 2-1 in our favor. And this one to me, again, is going to go right next to Almeria in bad. This game was unacceptable again because Barca, again, found themselves 1-0 down early on in this game. Munir scored a goal, and then Barca were just fighting an uphill battle. And the worst part is we weren't good for most of the game. We needed a last-minute penalty by Gundogan to win this game, if you remember. We were not convincing whatsoever. Now, granted, Las Palmas, especially at home, they're not a bad team whatsoever. They're actually, I think they're sitting in 9th or 8th place in La Liga. They're in the top half of the La Liga table, or maybe sitting in 10th, but they're definitely like above 11th place in La Liga with, like, I think 35 points. So they're not a bad team whatsoever this year. But again, you're Barcelona. You should be beating teams like Las Palmas comfortably, and you should not be needing a last-minute winner on a penalty to squeak by a team like this, in my opinion at least. And again, maybe if this season would have gone differently overall for Barca, I would put this game in meh or maybe amazing even. If Barca this year would have played consistently good, and then you have this one outlier game which teams have every single season. I mean, you're not going to be perfect every single game, every single season. I mean, we see that obviously even with Man City, who are to me by far the best team in the world right now. They still have games like where they squeak by with a victory, at home, away from home. It does not matter. But with Barca, we always squeak by. So this is the norm. So to me, I'm not going to accept this as the norm. For me, I refuse to accept this as the Barca norm. I just refuse. Maybe other fans can say that the financial situation, all that shit, I don't give a fuck. I'm not lowering my standard for this club because I think we still have the quality and we're still Barcelona and we should not lower our standards for anything. So for me, this game again, when I'm holding it to the Barca standard, it was bad, bro. Against Las Palmas, away from home, again, not an easy place to play, but you're down 1-0 in that game and you need a miracle to come back and win that game. And the performance overall wasn't that convincing. Las Palmas had a good amount of chances in this game. So to me, it's going to go into bad. Again, not a convincing performance whatsoever in my opinion, and also not good enough to go into meh because it's not like we dominated them either. Like we dominated Valencia and we were the better team against Porto to me slightly. I can't even tell. I don't even think we were the better team against Las Palmas on that day. So for that reason, it's gonna go into bad. Next up is the away match against Barbastro in the Copa del Rey round of 32 that finished 3-2. And this one to me is gonna go into bad because you cannot concede 2 against a Division 3 team. This is in the middle, by the way, of Barca's streak of not being able to beat teams by over 1 goal. And you can't beat Barbastro by over 1 goal. I'm still livid about this game. Now, obviously, we won and we ended up going through to the next round, but still, bro. And by the way, in this game, it's not even like we dominated Barbastro for the majority of it. We struggled to break them down for a good chunk of this game. Now, remember, they got a penalty at the end, that's what made it end 3-2. But again, bro, you can't concede 2 to a Division 3 team. It can't happen. You're Barcelona. And you were playing good players on that day. It's not like we were playing our fucking Barca B team. We were playing some of our stars on that day. You cannot concede 2 to a team like that. It is unacceptable in my opinion. So again, for that reason, it's going to go into bad. Next up is the match against Osasuna in the Super Cup semi-final, obviously in Saudi Arabia. This one to me is going to go into meh because Barca did manage to beat this team by over 1 goal, for the first time in 3 months. This is a game that broke the streak. Barca beat Osasuna 2-0, and we kept a clean sheet. That does not happen for Barca, especially this year. Beating a team by over 1 goal and keeping a clean sheet, I mentioned that in part 1 as well. It's very rare. It's very, very rare. So the fact that this happened, I think Lamine Yamal came off the bench and scored a goal in this game. Lewandowski scored a goal as well, both in the second half. I think both happened after the 55th minute. I'm pretty sure Barca struggled for this game for a majority of it to actually break Osasuna down. But I've seen us play Osasuna 3 times this year. We struggle against Osasuna a lot. I mean, it's a team that we struggle against, and we're going to talk about another game that we played against them very briefly here. Sorry about that. But yeah, Barca struggled to break Osasuna down. But in this game, we actually managed to score 2 past them and keep a clean sheet. So you know what? I'm going to take that victory. I'm going to put this game in meh. Next up is the match against Real Madrid that finished 4-1 in the Super Cup final. and this one to me is going to go into bad. One of the most painful games I've ever watched as a Barca fan. Not just because it happened against your biggest rival, because the team on this day looked like they quit. It was a cup final against a team that we obliterated in that same competition final a year ago. A year before this, obviously, we beat them 3-1. And they just dominated us. They played us around the park. Barca tactically were terrible. Xavi was playing a high line against Rodrigo and Vinicius, arguably like two of the fastest players in the whole world. And you're playing a high line, and every goal they scored, they just carved us apart. And it was so embarrassing, bro. Watching that team lift the trophy in our face and celebrate in front of us is one of the most embarrassing moments I've ever had supporting this team play. Supporting this team play. What the fuck does that mean? I did a live stream to this game, and if you watch the live stream, I was literally, not almost in tears because I'm not going to cry over Barca, but I was very, very sad, bro. It was just disappointing to watch because it looked like the players gave up, especially in that second half. It really looked like the players were not interested in playing anymore. And that to me is obviously not, I'm not happy with it. It's a game that I think I will remember till my dying days, honestly. Like, you guys might think I'm being dramatic. I think I'll remember this game until my dying days. That's how embarrassing it was for me as a Barca fan watching this shit. It was terrible to watch. Watching Bellingham and Vinicius score a hat-trick against us. I'm pretty sure he did. I think he did score a hat-trick against us. It was just not great to watch. It's one of my least enjoyable moments as a human being on this earth. And I think for Barca as a club, it was just like it was like a low point, honestly. So for that reason, obviously it's going to go into bad. Next up is the match against Unionistas de Salamanca that ended 3-1 away from home in the Copa del Rey. And this one to me, you guys might think I'm being harsh, but I'm going to put it in bad, bro. We conceded first against a Division 2 team. Or maybe, no, I think, actually, I misspoke. Barbastro was Division 4, I'm pretty sure. Unionistas is Division 3. And we still conceded first in that game. And we struggled throughout that first half. We did not play a good first half whatsoever. We could not break this team down. And in the second half, like right before halftime, we scored one goal. Joao Felix scored a goal. And in the second half, Koundé scored a goal. And I forgot who else scored a goal. I think it was Ferran maybe. But we scored 2 goals in the second half. But that first half against the Division 3 team, we looked like we were on the same level as them. It looked like Barca and Unionistas were playing in the same league week in and week out. And obviously, it's not even the same level. Barca are in top 4 of the first division in Spain, and Unionistas are not even one of the best teams in Division 3. And that first half was embarrassing to watch. And by the way, the goal that they scored, they completely carved us apart. Like, it was in transition, obviously, because Barca are the worst transition team I've ever seen. Every team, I've said this a bunch of times, but I'm going to say it one more time. Every team against Barca's backline in transition, especially at this time when Barca was playing, like, in January, like, the low point of the season, in my opinion, every team looked like 2012 Real Madrid on the counter. It looked like they had Ronaldo on one wing, Ozil and Di Maria on the other, like, in the middle and then on the right. It was that bad. And Salamanca fucking ripped us apart on that goal, and then obviously we ended up winning, which is because we should have won because we're the better team, and we're like our team value, our squad value, or like in terms of like how much we paid for our squad and how much they paid for their squad, it's almost like 100 million times more or something crazy. Like, I'm probably exaggerating there, but you guys know Barca's squad is one of the best in the world in terms of like names and everything, and we conceded first against them and struggled in the first half. Unacceptable. It's going to go into bad. Next up is the game against Real Betis that finished 4-2. This one to me is going to go into meh because Barca on this day for the first half looked really, really good. They were up 2-0 in this game. Ferran Torres scored a hat-trick on this day. If you remember, obviously it happened recently, so I'm sure most of you guys do remember. But then we allowed 2 goals. We allowed them to score 2 goals. Which is my problem with Barca this whole year. We can't be consistent for a full 90 minutes. And this game was the prime example of that. We were great for like the first 50, and then they score 2 goals and come back on us. And then they had all the momentum, and then Barca all of a sudden turned it back on, and then we scored 2 goals. And it looks like we won the game comfortably, but in reality, it wasn't comfortable whatsoever because Barca actually struggled we didn't even struggle. We couldn't maintain a lead, which again, it's not great. So again, to me, I'm not trying to be harsh here. But I can't put it in amazing. When you're up 2-0, you should be winning that game 4-5-0. You should not be like allowing 2 goals and then making them think that they can come back on you. And Isco obviously was great in this game. Ferran Torres was amazing for us. Isco for them, obviously Ferran Torres for us. Scored a hat-trick. The Shark, we miss you, man. I hope you get back healthy. I mean, we really miss Ferran. But in this game specifically, I'm going to put it in mad because again, Barca scored 4 goals, which is a rarity for Barca this year to score this many goals. And by the way, we actually scored a lot of goals against Betis. Our aggregate score against Betis this year is 9-2. We spanked this team this year in terms of like I think Xavi has Pellegrini's number. He knows how to break that team down. But again, you can't concede 2. You can't allow them to come back and score 2 on you and then make it a game. Unacceptable. So for that reason, again, the goals are great and the performance overall wasn't as bad as some of the other ones here. But I can't put it in amazing. It's going to go into mad because you cannot allow a comeback to happen. Next up is the match in the Copa del Rey against Athletic Club that finished 4-2 away from home at San Mamés. And this one to me is going to go into bad. One of the most embarrassing Barca games that I've seen in my life, honestly. Along with Girona and along with Real Madrid, the 4-1, and along with Antwerp. This season has given us so many bad performances, man. And the reason why I'm saying it's embarrassing, guys, is because in these games, Barca look like they quit. against Antwerp, against Girona, against Real Madrid, and against Atletico Bilbao, it looked like Barca quit, especially in that extra time, because remember, this game went to extra time. It looked like Barca gave up. It looked like they didn't want to fight for the badge anymore. This game was 2-2. They scored early on in this game because obviously Barca, we know, were the most vulnerable team, not just in Spain, but in Europe. In the first 30 seconds of a game, we're just like coming out of the locker room, every team just like, it's like teams just know that they can get us and they score every single time, either coming out of halftime or at the beginning of games. And this game, obviously, Atletico Bilbao scored very early on, and then Barca ended up coming back, and then we went to extra time, and then they scored 2 goals on us, and both goals were great. Obviously, the Williams brothers scored, but to me, this just wasn't great. It was just bad to watch because I think Barca, like I said, quit in the second half. And yeah, for that reason, it's going to go into bad. Just not a pretty performance whatsoever. Next up is the match against Villarreal that finished 5-3 at home. This one to me is going to go into bad. You guys got stated. This game was, the ultimate roller coaster ride. This game is the epitome of Barca this year. Barca were down 2-0 in this game. Then they come back and score 2 goals, actually 3 goals, 3 unanswered goals. And then Villarreal, in the span of 7 minutes, scored 3 goals. From the 84th minute to the end of the game, they scored 3 goals against Barcelona. It was just a sloppy shit. Again, it looked like the players quit. This game was it was terrible, bro. It was so bad to watch, so hard to watch this fucking game. Barca, down 2-0, obviously, because we always find an uphill battle. And then we come back. We take the lead. We're up 3-2 against Villarreal after being down. By the way, there's like I said this in the first part as well, but I got to reiterate it. There's not been a better game this season between 2 teams than Villarreal and Barcelona. Both of the games that they've played, it's been must-see TV. But then obviously in this game specifically, we come back and then they scored 3 goals past the 80, from the 84th minute on. Embarrassing, unacceptable. It's gonna go into bad 100%. If you know, obviously I don't have to explain much about this game. It happened recently. Obviously we all have a fresh memory. We all remember it, and we all know how bad this was and how embarrassing it was that we allowed this team to come back on us after we came back on them. Next up is the game against Osasuna that finished 1-0, and this one to me is gonna go into bad. Barca struggled to break down Osasuna at home. Again, you guys might think I'm being overly harsh here. I really don't think I am, bro. All these games have been terrible to watch. And I've done a match review after all these games, like I always mention. You guys can go back and look at my reviews after those games. And I'm not just making this shit up for the video, like for this video. I've been upset about after all these performances. In this video, we need a Victor Roque to come off the bench. To come off the bench and score a header in the 68th minute. But this game, again, I know we've struggled against Osasuna for large amounts, for the 3 games that we played against them this season. The 2 in the league and then the 1 in the Super Cup, which we already talked about in this video. But it's unacceptable to me that we can't seem to break teams down ever. We can never seem to have a comfortable win against any team, and we always have to be struggling to beat these teams that we're better than, and we theoretically should be pummeling them, but we can never make it happen because, again, tactically Barca has not been the best, and we can't convert our chances. And in this game, we really didn't create many chances. I don't think Osasuna created many chances either, but we didn't create many chances. And after Osasuna got a red card, they actually looked like the better team throughout those last 20 minutes or whatever it was, and they actually almost scored on us and made it a game and equalized. But we were able to hold off that pressure, which is rare for us. But again, this game to me, 1-0, and you struggle to break down a team that you're better than, and you need a fucking 18-year-old from Brazil and his second game for the club to come off the bench and save you. Not good enough. It's going to go into bad. Next up is the game against Alaves away from home that finished 3-1, and this one to me is going to go into meh because Barca on this day actually found themselves up 2-0 in this game. And we actually, in my opinion, were the better team throughout the majority of the game. Samu scored in the 51st minute after we scored. We scored in the 49th minute, and then they scored in the 51st minute because we know that Barca from kickoff, I'm going to say it one more time, is the worst team in the world. We cannot defend a kickoff for shit, either halftime or after scoring a goal or right in the beginning of the game. We just can't defend that. We can't defend those for some reason. I don't know why. But in this game, we actually were up 2-0, and then Samu scored a goal, and he made it actually kind of a tight game. And then Alaves, after Samu scored the goal, it actually looked like they were going to come back and pull the Betis against us. We're up 2-0, and then they come back and score 2 goals. But luckily, Victor Roque, for his second game, came off the bench, for his second straight game, came off the bench and scored a goal and kind of put the game to bed. And then for those final minutes, Barca looked a lot more comfortable than we have for a large part of the season. So for that reason, it's going to go into again. You win by over 2 goals. You were up 2-0 in this game. It was kind of comfortable towards the end. Very, very rare for Barca this year. So I'm going to put it in meh. Next up is the home match against Granada that finished 3-3. And again, you guys know the drill. It's going to go into bad. This game happened about 2 weeks back, less than that actually. And it was utterly embarrassing, bro. Every time we scored, they scored. It was just like a heavyweight battle, but it's just one heavyweight and then one team that's not even close to a heavyweight because Granada is one of the worst teams in the league, and you conceded 3 against them in Montjuic at home. You conceded 3 against Granada. It is fucking unacceptable, bro. But that just shows you Barca this year. This game, embarrassing. It's going to go into bad 100%, no question about it. And then lastly, it's the match against Celta Vigo that just happened recently, like 4 days back, which we all remember, we all have fresh in our memory, and I did a post-match reaction session that, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this game because also it was really, really fucking boring. I'm going to put it in bad just because to continue the trend here because, again, Barca, we were up 1-0 and then they scored a goal to tie it up and then we needed a last-minute penalty by Lewandowski to win this game because Celta Vigo player kicked Lamine Yamal in the ass. But yeah, again, this game was boring as fuck. We all remember it was fresh in our memory. And Barca, again, were not great. So it's going to go into bad. That is the end of part 2 of this mini-series that I'm doing right now. Again, you guys can look out for part 3 when the season is over. I hope you guys enjoy this video, man. Thank you guys so much for all the support on the channel so far. It means the world to me. If you guys like this video and like any thoughts you guys have, let me know in the comment section. Please, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm being too harsh? Do you think I'm being too nice? Maybe. I'm not sure I don't think anybody thinks I'm being too nice. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section about this tier list and the games that Barca played this year. And yeah, man, I love every single one of you. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.